He obviously, Mr. Vance is a supporter of the Title VIII mission. He knows what's at stake here. He knows what's at stake in Minnesota and nationwide. And one of our most ardent supporters of that Title VIII mission, one of our most ardent supporters of taking criminal illegal aliens off the streets, J.D. Vance from Ma and Pa America, just like President Trump's Secretary Noem. He's from Ma and Pa America. And I can't think of a better individual to come down and talk to those Border Patrol agents and ICE officers. Marcos and I were talking here just before this press conference. One of the things that J.D. Vance does is he wants to hear from the rank and file Border Patrol agents and ICE officers. That's something very unique to him. He wants to come down and talk to them individually, see what's on their mind, their issues, concerns, and what's going on the ground. You don't see that a lot, but you sure see it with the Vice President. Vice President Vance, we can't wait to see him. We're glad to have him. Thank you.
This way, sir.
Including attempts to interfere with the lawful transfer of power. The conspiracy that we were investigating, it was relevant to get toll records to understand the scope of that conspiracy, who they were seeking to coerce, who they were seeking to influence, who was seeking to help them.
And that's normal investigative practice, right?
In conducting a criminal investigation, securing non-content toll records, as you described, is a common practice in almost any complex conspiracy.
Okay, let's go to something else that I've been hearing over the last week by our colleagues as they've eagerly anticipated your arrival here. They've been saying that there's some kind of First Amendment defense that Donald Trump would have had to the crimes you indicted him for. Is there a valid First Amendment defense to defrauding the public? Is there a valid First Amendment defense to disrupting a federal proceeding? Is there a valid First Amendment defense to violating the voting rights of the people and cheating the public out of a fair election?
The First Amendment is something that we took seriously in our investigation. But the First Amendment does not protect speech that facilitates a crime. Speech that is used to facilitate a crime, a fraud crime in particular, is not protected under the First Amendment. The Supreme Court precedent on that is clear. This is an issue that we litigated before the district court, and the district court ruled, as I just stated, that it is not in fact protected.
And the case law is perfectly clear on this, right? All frauds are perpetrated by speech, right?
Yes.
All conspiracies are perpetrated by speech. So just because your criminal conduct is brigaded with speech doesn't somehow mean you've got a First Amendment defense against trying to overthrow the government. I mean, the people who attacked the police officers on January 6th were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." I suppose that was political speech, or they were saying, "Stop the steal." Does that mean they've got a First Amendment defense to violent assault against the officers?
It does not.
William Barr, by the way, was somebody who was perfectly clear about that. Donald Trump's own attorney general said, there's no freedom of speech that you have to engage in a conspiracy, to overthrow an election, to commit crime. He was perfectly clear about that. Back in those days, in fact, lots of people on that side of the aisle, including my good friend, the chairman, denounced the violence that took place on January 6th. The cat's got their tongue these days. My friend Chairman Jordan said, what happened last week was terrible, was tragic. It's as wrong can be, he said. Republicans, we know all political violence is wrong. I asked my friend Chairman Jordan at a rules hearing, Are you also not interested in what happened to us on January 6th? He said, of course, everyone's interested in holding people accountable who did wrong. The FBI is doing that. The Justice Department is doing that, appropriately so. What do you think about the attack on the Department of Justice and the special counsel for doing your jobs?
I think the attack is unjustified. I think the people who worked with me as career public servants are people, they're part of the reason I've been a prosecutor for so long is to work with people like that, not just the prosecutors in my office, but also the agents, FBI agents who are heroes, who have served their country not only as agents, but also overseas. I think those attacks are unwarranted based on the facts, and I think that they have no basis in who we are as Americans, as a country. I don't see attacking people like that as anything appropriate.
Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, I yield back to you.
Gentleman yields back. Mr. Smith, is Cassidy Hutchinson a liar? She was their star witness. January 6th committee, their star witness in one of those staged and choreographed hearings they paid the former president of ABC News to put together. She was, in fact, the only witness at this special prime time hearing, Tuesday, June 28th, 2022, 8 o'clock in the evening, and she told some stories. I mean, these were some stories. She talked about President lunged across the back seat, grabbed the steering wheel, tried to drive the car to the Capitol. And I just want to know, you think she was lying?
Chairman Jordan, my assessment of that particular issue is that with respect to the testimony about the president lunging towards the driver, my recollection of her testimony about that is that it was secondhand. She had said she'd heard that from somebody.
You familiar with the name Tony Ornato?
I'm sorry,
You
sir?
familiar with the name Tony Ornato?
Yes,
White House Deputy Chief of Operations, Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations, right? You remember what he said about it?
as I sit here right now, I do not.
Yeah, he said it didn't happen. How about Bobby Engel? You familiar with that name?
Yes, I am.
Secret Service agent who was actually in the car that day. You know what he said? He said it didn't happen. And they both said the first time they ever heard this story was when Ms. Hutchinson testified in the primetime hearing as their star witness of the January 6th committee. By the way, did you ever confirm her testimony about this particular incident?
We conducted, as I said before, our own independent investigation of all aspects of the case that we thought was relevant. We, attorneys from my office.
Did you ever confirm it? That's a simple question.
Well, we interviewed, or I should say attorneys in my office before.
Did you ever confirm the president leaping across the seat, grabbing the steering wheel, this whole concoction she brought up in the January 6th hearing? Did you ever confirm that?
Right. We interviewed another firsthand witness who was in the car, who did not confirm that
Okay.
had happened, but also
In your deposition
stated
to the
that-
committee last month, Mr. Smith, you said this: my recollection with Ms. Hutchinson was a number of the things that she gave evidence on were secondhand hearsay. You remember us making that statement to us last month in the deposition?
I did, and I was referring particularly to what we're talking about now.
Yeah, and you also said Ms. Hutchinson regarding this particular claim was a second or even third-hand witness. We asked you, if you were a defense attorney, how would you handle cross-examining her if she was on the witness stand? And you said, if I were a defense attorney and Ms. Hutchinson were a witness, the first thing I would do was seek to preclude her testimony because it was hearsay. You remember saying all that?
Yes, that's correct, sir.
That's correct, right? Were you going to put her on the witness stand if you ever got to trial?
We had not made final determinations as to who we were going to call as a witness. We had a
You were
large,
still considering her?
choice of witnesses in this
Are you
case.
familiar what Washington Post reporters Carol Leonnig and Aaron Davis said in their book? They did this book, 300-some pages book on Chronicle and the whole investigation of the Justice Department. And here's what they said on page 310. They said, Jack Smith had wondered whether some of Hutchinson's claims might be relied upon at trial. Still, at one point, Smith told the elections team he wasn't ready to give up on Hutchinson's account. Ultimately, however, Trump administration officials uniformly, fiercely disputed her accounts under oath. Prosecutors on your team told Smith they wouldn't want to use Hutchinson as a witness in court, and Smith agreed. Are Carol Leonnig and Aaron Davis, who wrote this, are they lying?
My recollection is that I certainly had not made any final determinations about
And
who we were going to call.
And that's the point. That is the point. The fact that they used her in a primetime hearing and you won't rule out using her, or didn't rule out using her, putting her on the witness stand when everybody knows she wasn't telling the truth, that says it all. That's the degree the left and Democrats were willing to go to get President Trump, putting on the witness stand someone everybody knows is making it up. Everybody knows that. And you were willing to do. By the way, you know how many times Cassidy Hutchinson was mentioned in their report, the January 6th report? Any idea, Mr. Smith?
I do not.
185 times. Someone that the whole country knows wasn't telling the truth, and you were still considering putting her on the witness stand because you had to get President Trump. And everybody can see that. We better take a recess for votes. We will resume as soon as votes are over. Back here 10 minutes after. Mr. Smith, you guys can go back to the room that you were in.
What he can actually say. Obviously, he can't really talk about the Mar-a-Lago documents case. We've heard some conversation about the January 6th case, but what he will say here, I do not anticipate any crazy bombshells from him that we don't already know. I mean, he wants to get the facts of his investigation out in the public record. And of course, we all are in the weeds with what's in these indictments and what's in all of these court documents for these cases that never actually went to trial. But most of the American public who's watching this might not know that. They don't want to sift through all of these court documents the way that we enjoy doing. And so for him to get out here and actually have this platform to say in a public forum the findings of his investigations, plural, this is really notable. But he's sticking to things that we already knew from these indictments, from the court documents, and from his investigation.
I'll just say, Simone, that this was the Jim Jordan we've come to expect. Jacketless, I don't think the man has ever seen a sports coat. And he was using this opportunity, again, to prosecute real talking points that the president and the Republicans have been beating with a stick for the last 6 years. So again, this is just another public forum to reiterate their view that the legal system has been weaponized against this president. I will say it was a very interesting choice to have the first questioner out of the box for the Republicans be Kevin Kiley from the 3rd District in California that's near Sacramento. Kevin Kiley is a relatively new member of Congress. I think he was elected to Congress in just the last few years. This is his 2nd term. He previously was a member of the California State Assembly. He is a Yale Law School graduate, just 40 years old. And he was also one of the candidates running against California Governor Gavin Newsom in that election. He's not disinterested in that election, obviously, but he's also the author of a book entitled Recall Newsom, the case against America's most corrupt governor. So I think this was for him to make a national debut as a rising star among the Republicans.
It's such a good point. It reminds me that, frankly, we are in the midst of an election season. And to be clear, Kevin Kiley's seat is in jeopardy, or at least it's no longer safe, I should argue. Remember Prop 50, California? It had passed in November 2025. It triggered new congressional maps in California. This is in reaction to what happened in Texas because the president called up the governor of Texas and asked him to find him 5 more seats to make a more favorable map in Texas to potentially hold on to the House of Representatives. California responded. I say that to say the map that they drew in California cuts up Kylie's current political base. So he doesn't actually have a clear district right now to run in, and he potentially is going to have a brutal primary situation.
He may. Again, Republicans in California are challenging that redistricting proposition. So I think it's at the intermediate appellate court level. It will surely go to the Supreme Court. Not clear what the court will do in that case. But all to say, Kevin Kiley is not disinterested, and this opportunity to be on national television is probably great for him. I'm sure that that statement he made, those questions he asked, will be cut up and used for campaign clippings if he is eligible to run to as an incumbent in his district, or if he runs in a new redrawn district.
In another district, it makes complete. Look, all of these things are connected. I will just say my last takeaway from this first 45 minutes is, in fact, that it is very clear that the strategy from Democrats is to ensuring that they are trying to correct the record and inject as many facts out there to counter what their Republican colleagues are doing and saying. And from the Republicans' perspective, it seems to me that their strategy continues to be to not try to relitigate January 6th, because it's something we all saw, right, that unfolded on national television, but really talk about all these other aspects of the case that came about because of January 6th. And so some of it is a direct go at Jack Smith himself. Some of it is about the process. Again, to Fallon's point, a bunch of things that if you don't follow this every day, if you're not a political professional watching all this, reporting on it, and knee deep in the weeds, matter of fact, neck deep, actually, just deep in the weeds of everything that's going on, you could easily get confused or get lost or say, you know what, maybe Jim Jordan has a point. I think this all boils down to trying to re-engineer, rewrite the history of that day and what happened in the days after. And I do think it's directly connected to the 2026 election and potentially 2028. But we'll see if my little theories bore out through the rest of the day. Again, the members are taking their votes. Jack Smith is taking his break, and we're going to take a break. Yet we'll be back as soon as the hearing is back. So don't go anywhere.
So safe when Tesla full self-driving is so safe that they're offering customers half price insurance if they use Tesla Full Self-Driving in their car.
And that can be monitored by the insurance company? Is that part of the agreement then?
Yeah. I think self-driving cars is essentially a solved problem at this point.
Right.
And Tesla has rolled out sort of robotaxi service in a few cities, and
Right.
will I think be very, very widespread by the end of this year within the U.S. And then we hope to get supervised full self-driving approval in Europe, hopefully next month.
Really that quickly?
Yeah, and then maybe a similar timing for China, hopefully.
I want to move to space because historically space is very capital intensive. It historically been done by governments. Obviously, SpaceX changed the whole model. But we've seen it slow to scale, and now I'm starting to see it ramping up in what you're doing and other things. Talk to us about the automation and AI, how it's changing the economics in building and preparing for us in operating in space.
Sure. Well, the key breakthrough the major breakthrough that SpaceX is hoping to achieve this year is full reusability. So no one has ever achieved full reusability of a rocket, which is very important for the cost of access to space. We've achieved partial reusability with Falcon 9 by landing the boost stage. We've now landed the boost stage over 500 times. But we have to throw away the upper stage. The upper stage sort of burns up on reentry for Falcon 9. So, and the cost of that is equivalent to a small to medium-sized jet. So, but with Starship, which is a giant rocket, it's the largest flying machine ever made.
That's a rocket that you're using for the idea of going to Mars, right?
Yeah, Mars and the Moon, as well as for high-volume satellite stuff. So, Starship. Hopefully this year we should prove full reusability for Starship, which will be a profound invention because the cost of access to space will drop by a factor of 100 when you achieve full reusability.
Right.
It's the same sort of economic difference that you would expect between, say, a reusable aircraft and a non-reusable aircraft. Like if you have to throw your aircraft away after every flight, that would be a very expensive flight. But if you only have to refuel, then it's the cost of the fuel. And so that's really the fundamental breakthrough that gets the cost of access to space, we think, below the cost of freight on aircraft. So, you know, under $100 a pound type of thing easily. So it makes putting large satellites into space very low, very cheap. And then when you have solar in space, you get 5 times more effectiveness, maybe even more than that, than solar on the ground, because it's always sunny.
It's cold. And
It's always sunny, so you don't have a day-night cycle or seasonality or weather, and you get about 30% more power in space because you don't have atmospheric attenuation of the power.
Right.
The net effect is solar is 5 times more. Any given solar panel will do 5 times more energy in space than on the ground.
Is there any capacity in doing that and then taking that power and bringing it back to Earth? Is there any way of doing that, or you're just taking that power and utilizing it for the needs, like building AI data centers in the space?
I think the case, it's a no-brainer for building solar-powered AI data centers in space, because as you mentioned, it's also very cold in space. If you're in the shadow, then it's very cold in space, just 3 degrees Kelvin. So you just have solar panels facing the sun, and then a radiator that's pointed away from the sun, so it has no sun incidence, and then it's just cooling. It's a very efficient cooling system. So net effect is that the lowest cost place to put AI will be space. And that'll be true within 2 years, maybe three at the latest.
Wow. So looking 10 or 20 years out, how would you describe success with AI or space technology, and where do you see it? Are you more certain what's going to happen in the next 3 years or 5 or 10?
I don't know what's going to happen in 10 years, but the rate at which AI is progressing, I think we might have AI that is smarter than any human by the end of this year, and I would say no later than next year.
Wow.
And then probably by 2030 or 2031, call it 5 years from now, AI will be smarter than all of humanity collectively.
We only have a number of minutes left, but I want to humanize you for a second. So there's no speculation that
Make a
you're
joke about peace.
Right. I want to. I mean, I would frame this question by you're the most successful entrepreneur, industrialist in the 21st century, maybe beyond. I want to really get this. What inspired you? Who's inspired you? What was the foundation of your curiosity? And importantly, was there a aha moment, an epiphany at any time in your life and career?
Well, I mean, as a kid, I read a lot of science fiction, sci-fi, fantasy books.
Yeah, we talked about
and comic books, and I always liked technology. I didn't expect to be where I am today. That seems incredibly implausible. But yeah, I was inspired by reading about books about the future, about science fiction, and I guess I want to make science fiction not fiction forever. At some point, turn science fiction to science fact. We want to have like Starfleet and Star Trek, really, for real, like where we actually have giant spaceships traveling through space, going to other planets, traveling to other star systems.
I'm just interested if I could be beamed up to go back to New York. I'd like to just be beamed back to New York instead of flying.
Yeah.
Talking about Star Trek.
No, I guess my essential, what I would call the philosophy of curiosity. I'd like to understand the meaning of life. Is the standard model of physics correct regarding the beginning of life, beginning of existence, and the end of the universe? What questions do we not know to ask that we should ask? And AI will help us with these things. So I'm just trying to understand, how do we get here? What's going on? What's real? Are there aliens? Maybe there are. And if we've got spaceships that are traveling to other star systems, we may encounter aliens, or we may find many long dead alien civilizations. But I just want to know what's going on. I'm curious about the universe, and that's my philosophy.
Do you see yourself ever going to Mars in your lifetime?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like
That's a long commitment.
I've been asked.
Isn't that 3 years each way?
It's 6 months.
6 months. That's all it is.
Yeah, 6 months, but the planets only align every 2 years.
Okay.
So, yeah, I've been asked a few times, like, do I want to, die on Mars? And I'm like, yes, but just not on impact.
That's a good answer. Anyway, we're out of time. Hopefully everybody enjoyed this. I mean, there's so many myths around Elon Musk. I could tell you he's a great friend, and I constantly learn so much from him. And I'm totally inspired by what he has done. I've been inspired who he is, and I'm totally inspired by his vision of the future. And I don't think it's such a bad future. And I agree with his optimism. So Elon, thank you. Any last words?
Well, I think my last words would be, I would encourage everyone to be optimistic and excited about the future.
Good.
And generally, I think for quality of life, it is actually better to err on the side of being an optimist and wrong rather than a pessimist and right.
On that note,
I know it doesn't feel like it, but you're really just feeling how uneducated you are right now.
Greg, does this deter you at all or encourage you, motivate you? Take it easy, man. Take it easy. Hey, where's Ashley? Greg, will you talk to us just a second and just tell us kind of what you're out doing today, what you're looking for?
We're getting gas now.
But you're not just getting gas now. I mean, I'm trying to be serious. What are you doing
We're
today?
getting gas now. We stopped to get gas.
Other than that, what are you doing today?
Title 8 immigration enforcement.
And how's it going so far?
Fantastic. It's going good. A lot of good arrests today.
Are you guys looking into consequences for denial of service at all?
We're getting gas. That's what we stopped for.
Greg, are you getting some thumbs ups, or is it all just people kind of angry and frustrated? What do you have?
Absolutely. Quite a bit of thumbs up. We always do. So definitely more paparazzi here.
Does this affect you, hearing people blowing the whistles and saying get out?
No, it actually helps our patrol efforts quite often. We incorporate that into what we're doing, and it actually sometimes helps. So
How do you? The fuck out of here! Seems like that's what we're doing. Fuck out of here! Shame! You are the illegal! You are the criminal! You are a criminal! You are the gang! You are a criminal!
I know it doesn't feel like it, but you're really just feeling how uneducated you are right now.
Greg, does this deter you at all or encourage you, motivate you? Take it easy, man. Take it easy. Hey, where's Ashley? Greg, will you talk to us just a second and just tell us kind of what you're out doing today, what you're looking for?
We're getting gas now.
But you're not just getting gas now. I mean, I'm trying to be serious. What are you doing
We're
today?
getting gas now. We stopped to get gas.
Other than that, what are you doing today?
Title 8 immigration enforcement.
And how's it going so far?
Fantastic. It's going good. A lot of good arrests today.
Are you guys looking into consequences for denial of service at all?
We're getting gas. That's what we stopped for.
Greg, are you getting some thumbs ups, or is it all just people kind of angry, frustrated? What do you have?
Absolutely. Quite a bit of thumbs up. We always do. So definitely more paparazzi here.
Does this affect you, hearing people blowing the whistles and saying get out?
No, it actually helps our patrol efforts quite often. We incorporate that into what we're doing, and it actually sometimes helps. So
How do you? The fuck out of here! Seems like that's what we're doing. Fuck out of here! Shame! You are the illegal! You are the criminal! You are a criminal! You are the gang! You are a criminal!
In Maine, and I was the Attorney General of Maine for 8 years and the Chief Law Enforcement Officer. And we take crime very seriously, although we're proud of the fact that we have one of the lowest crime rates in the country, certainly one of the lowest violent crime rates in the country. We vie with Vermont generally. But listen, every crime is a serious crime in our books, and we take allegations of criminal activity seriously, no matter who the person is. And I don't sense that there's any greater, certainly not a greater incidence of crime among non-citizens than there is among citizens. In fact, I think probably the opposite. You know, but that's not what we're hearing about. We're hearing about perhaps a handful of people with criminal convictions who I don't know what their status is. But you know, what I've asked for, if they have warrants, show the warrants. In my experience, you've got to get a judicial warrant to arrest somebody. And it's not automatic. And they have warrants to come here and arrest people, then that should be public record. You know, in America, we don't believe in secret arrests or secret police. God, that goes back to the Magna Carta, doesn't it? I mean, it's one of the foundations of our country and our Constitution. I was going to say, having worked in and around and with law enforcement for these many years, and having taught at the Academy, the Criminal Justice Academy, I know that our law enforcement here in Maine are subject to high training qualifications, substantial qualifications, professional training, that they're subject to high expectations on their standards of performance. I'll tell you, they don't wear masks to hide their identity. They don't need to wear masks. They don't need to hide their identity. And they don't go out and set numbers and goals and quotas and detain people subject to some quota, wherever that may come from. That's not very professional under our standards. Yes.
This time last year, when you told the president you would see him in court, obviously it didn't happen, and it was over a different issue. But do you think there is a target on the state of Maine's back because of those actions?
I should hope not. That'd be kind of silly. I mean, we fought the issue in court, excuse me, but I said we'd see him in court. We did see him in court a few weeks later, and we won on that issue, so.
But Governor, why, in your opinion, is your state now in the bullseye?
Well, he's gone to a lot of blue states, hasn't he? He went to Chicago, Illinois, Los Angeles, California, and Minneapolis, Minnesota, all Democratic governors. I happen to be a Democratic governor. Ostensibly, they're coming here, they say, because of an immigrant population that they find in disfavor. So I don't know. You'll have to ask them why they're here.
Do you believe that there are 1,400 people living in Maine illegally with criminal backgrounds?
With criminal backgrounds. Well, let's see the documents. I'd be shocked if they found 1,400 people with criminal charges against them. But what we're hearing is not that anyway. What we're hearing is that people with no criminal backgrounds are being detained and subject to perhaps deportation or at least arrest. People who are being torn from their families and from young children. People who are part of the workforce here in Maine, a workforce that we desperately need and desperately value. And that's a shame. You know, it's disruptive and it's causing a lot of fear and unnecessary anxiety in the community and among families who don't deserve this kind of treatment.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on the impact that you're hearing from the schools?
Well, only second, I haven't personally talked to the superintendents, but they're very much on alert because schools in Portland and Lewiston in particular have a fairly high number of children of immigrant families. And so we hear that some of those children aren't going to school because they're concerned if they come home and their parent isn't there, or the parent isn't there to take them to school in the first place. And they're concerned about some, at least in theory, an approach to the school that would be very unwelcome.
We've heard about what you said to the president in the past. What's your message to the president now?
I don't have a message for the president today.
Last week, you said the administration was not returning any phone calls from your administration
Right.
about all of this. Is that still the case?
That is still the case.
What do you make of the memo that was sent out that's allowing federal agents to go into homes without a warrant?
That's a memo that was, I don't know that the actual memo was released, but there were whistleblowers who discussed such a memo with Senator Blumenthal. And it's very disturbing news, assuming it's true. Look, the Fourth Amendment, basic premise of our Bill of Rights, for God's sakes, its words couldn't be plainer. You've got to have a judicial warrant before you enter somebody's home.
Will the bill become law to restrict what Maine law enforcement could do in terms of cooperating with federal immigration agents? Can you clarify, even though that's not, the law is not in effect yet, can you clarify what's actually going on between the Maine State Police and the federal agents or other Maine entities, if you know?
First of all, no law enforcement officer in Maine is prohibited from coordinating or collaborating on a criminal investigation, criminal activity in Maine, with collaborating with federal investigators. But I think the law says if it's purely for immigration enforcement, our law enforcement aren't there to enforce federal laws, immigration laws, period.
So they're already abiding by that law. Maine State Police have instructed.
The state police, as my understanding, are, and many other departments I think are as well. Look, they've seen what happens what has happened in other states. You saw one or two of the police chiefs in Minnesota who said that their off-duty police officers were being detained by ICE. Police officers with no criminal record, no violations of law. I mean, that's a little extreme.
Actually, the DHS put out this list of the four pictures of the four people they call for worst. Three of them had been previously convicted of whatever their infractions. And yeah, they were felons. As a former prosecutor, your reaction to these cases were already adjudicated.
Well,
There's no.
do you want, I'm not sure, had they done their time? Had they been convicted somewhere and served their time? It would be good to know. They weren't here as fugitives, were they? It would be good to know.
That gets to my question. I mean, when they call them the worst of the worst, if someone has already done the time, then what's the case for?
Excuse me. Look, if somebody has evidence of criminal activity, we want to hear about it. But that's not what we're hearing about. For the most part, we're hearing about people who have not been engaged in criminal activity, who are being torn from their families, from their schools, from their businesses, and who are in fear, and their families and their communities are in fear. And that's just not right. That's not right.
When would you like to see it end? I guess when would you
What? Sorry?
When would you like to see the operation end? I know they have this so-called target, but are you hoping to see it end?
You know, I'd be curious to know more about their so-called target. Why Maine? Why now? What were the orders that came from above? Who's giving the orders? Pardon me?
Are you reaching out to like hourly or day by day to try to get this info, or is it like a hopeless effort at this point?
I think, you know, we've reached out, we've asked questions. We have no answers.
A lot of people are concerned that Maine will turn into Minnesota with all the protests. What are your thoughts on that?
I think we've been really, really clear, not just us as a state government, but, you know, the churches in the area, the ACLU, ILAP, other interested entities have been very clear that there will be protests, but that they fully intend that the protests, when and if they occur, will be peaceful. The intent is not to obstruct or agitate or interfere, but to document, to record, and to exercise people's First Amendment rights, which we fully support.
And what do you think of one of the worst of the worst of the four photos that were listed yesterday from DHS being an OUI?
Mark, how many OUIs do we have in the state a year? Like 5,000, 10,000? I don't know.
I don't think that's an exaggeration.
That's a pretty common misdemeanor offense. Just so- Yes. No, I don't think we have specific information about where in particular detainees are being held.
And about the process for them going forward.
No, I will say, look, I think the Supreme Court has said people who are detained because of immigration status, because they're not full citizens, they have a right to a hearing, they have a right to a bond, And we fully expect that those rights will be adhered to.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, pussies. Bye, cowards. Go home. Quit your fucking job, murderers. Murderers. you fight each other. You can't even do that. You don't even show your face. Go ahead, shoot me. What are you gonna do? Go ahead. Go ahead, you show that. You go down next.
They have created essentially a firewall preventing any protesters from
Remember the last time we started? Like overall, like the federal government. They lost the civil war. You guys don't win. Be all cocky and think you will. It's the only way you win anything. Wearing masks and beers and fucking guns, bullshit. Elections that were rigged and fascist states is not. Oh,
quotes terrorizing
Sure made the streets safe today, huh? Such shame for their parents. So much shame.
So you want to tune in for that?
They're trying to gather people on the sidewalks to make sure that there wouldn't be any kind of bad interaction.
Violence and face-to-face with ICE agents and protesters. We're seeing that again here unfold this morning outside of the federal building. Again, this is where ICE agents tried to hold office.
From my perspective, there is two sources. It gets an illegal alien. And we determine if they have
All federal. We have not seen any.
Oh yeah, you're really tough. You know, I'm in high school and I don't get to go because of you. You guys raided high school. Yeah,
Y'all
talk
quit
to
your
me about
jobs.
it. Why the fuck did you do that? Those are educators doing 1,000 times more than you do every single day.
and they're helping people. You guys are hurting people. Every day, your whole job is to hurt people.
Not here because I
No
hate.
good.
Not here because I hate you. I hate what you're doing to us.
No, I hate you. I fuck you.
I don't. You can quit your job. You can make a change.
Quit right now.
It's okay. Honestly.
Garbage human.
Jesus fucking
Information to the marshal by the American flag down that way.
For fuck's sake. How many times do I have to say de-escalation skills? Look it up on Google. In your hotels and look it up on Google. How to de-escalate a crowd without fucking shooting people in your car. Maybe how to not fucking score high schools. Maybe how to not leave toddlers on the fucking highway. In Minnesota cold. You guys are from Texas. No, Texas gets cold. Are you from Texas? Are you from a warm climate? Or Minnesota? I hope not Minnesota. If so, you've been in the boundary brothers.
Disobey your boss. Garbage. All the way down. No. Trump himself. Shitty people. Terrible, shitty people. Women and mothers with a child.
Down by the Can you pull your buddies back in the meeting, huh? Please, what you're about to say. And leave her alone. Unarmed, marching, trying to keep the peace. By the way, I am so fucked. I'm gonna lose my job so fast that I'm saying I'll lose my job. There. If you've been worried about it,
We need people to track and respond to their neighborhoods. We're done. Mission accomplished here. If you're not here for Whipple Watch to record and report cars, we need you back in your neighborhood. Time to head out. If you're not here for Whipple Watch, let's head out. We need you back on rapid stops in your neighborhood.
Yeah. Anybody watching Take Two right now? I was there. There wasn't anybody there. I'm on the rapid response team. I'm also the medics.
Great.
I need to make sure we
Put
get
in to
somebody
make sure
out
that
there.
someone.
Give us a heads up. I don't know how to do
So when vehicles come in, you guys are gonna have to back up. Will not move, sir. So when vehicles come in, will not move, sir. Will not move. We'll get back.
What you're seeing here is federal agents have come out. They're trying to clear the road so people can get into the federal building here. They've just come out over the past minutes, and you can hear the crowd here chant, "Shade, shade." Yeah, see that? All right, they're just firing pepper balls. They're firing pepper balls at the crowd. They're trying to keep them back. While they're firing at them point blank. This has just started to happen. The federal officials have started to move back a little bit, but now they're holding this line right here. You can see the protesters arrayed, and just for the first time, a lot of them have put on their gas masks. I want to give you, you got me. I want to give you a sense of the dynamic of the crowd. You see the people in those yellow vests. They are marshals, and what they appear to be doing right now is holding back the crowd. But there are some people in there, some of them who are wearing gas masks, kind of been encroaching on the border control officers around here. And even though they only fire, do you get the pepper ball? You got the pepper ball, really? Yeah. They fired those pepper balls kind of hanging in the air. Wow, that's our guy Patrick. Get that close up of that guy Patrick. You see him in the green hat? Right in front. You want to come lower? I feel like is that too high of an angle?
I wouldn't right now. Look, if you want, you can, but you know, I'll take this one person to do
Shove us
something.
Yeah.
You know, and then they pray. Yeah.
No, I think if you still go 100%, that would be exactly.
End of the road, please. End of the road. Guys, guys, come on.
Let me see your face, you fucking coward! Fuck you! No fucking need! Put it down!
We're press.
Show your fucking faces! Show your faces! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you, all of you! I know you're saying to me, Get up!
Very good. On your conscience. Very good. It's on your conscience. So the day you die. Very good. Get off his head! Get off his head! Get off his head! Get off his head! Leave Minnesota! Leave Minnesota! Get out! Go! We don't need you! Go! Quit your job! Lay down your shit and go! Go on! Lay down your shit! So what happened just now is that these Border Patrol officers have gotten themselves surrounded.
Richard Nixon went after your political enemies. Maybe they're not your political enemies, but they sure as hell were Joe Biden's political enemies, weren't they? They were Harris's political enemies. They were the enemies of the president, and you were their arm, weren't you?
No.
No. Oh, great. So you spied on the Speaker of the House and these other senators and so on, and informed no one, and in fact put in a gag order so they couldn't discover it. If they were not subjects of a conspiracy investigation,
That's
why
Stephen
did
Miller's
Congress,
so-called enemies list.
a separate
Let's-
branch that you, under the
Let's see if
Constitution,
Jack
have to
Smith
respect,
actually
why
weighs
is it
in
that
on
no
why
one
it
should
was
be informed,
important.
including
He
the
needs to reiterate,
judges?
I think,
'Cause you went in
why
to
he
spy
wanted
on these
these,
people.
why the
Did you
toll
mention
records
that you were
they thought were
spying
important in the
on
first place.
seeking records so you could find out about when conversations occurred between the U.S. Speaker of the House and the president? Did you inform the judge, or did you hold that back?
My office didn't spy on anyone.
Wait a second. The question I asked you, Mr. Smith, was pretty straightforward. Did you withhold that information from an Article III judge in the process of taking the records of the Speaker of the House?
We complied with Department.
Did you hold back
Mr.
that
Chairman, would you
information?
please instruct the gentleman to allow the witness to answer the questions?
It's not your time. I'd like my time back.
Mr. Chairman,
again,
you have
please.
repeatedly done that in the past. The witness has the right to answer the question.
And there'll be due time to answer the question. Would you please put my time back and let me finish this? Mr. Smith, I asked you a question and you were not responsive to it, and I want you to be responsive to it. Did you, whether you think it was legal or not, whether you think it was right or not, did you withhold the name of Kevin McCarthy, Speaker of the House, when you were
I want
seeking
to know,
records
these are some
on
of the,
Kevin McCarthy, the Speaker of
this
the
line
House,
of
or Jim
questioning
Jordan,
is something that
Chairman
is
of this committee?
percolating rapidly
gentleman
within
is-
conservative media
Please
circles.
give me back the time that would take it away.
Time has expired, but we're going to let the witness answer your question because it's an important question. The witness can respond.
We did not provide that information to the judge when we requested a non-disclosure order, consistent with the law and consistent with department.
Mr. Chairman, the amazing thing here today is that we have an admission that an
Mr.
Article
Chairman, the
1
gentleman's time has
Come on.
expired by now 34 seconds.
It gets more than 5 minutes.
How many times you can interrupt me?
The time belongs to the gentleman from
I
California,
will
but
be-
it has
I
expired.
will be brief in my address to the chairman. We have the evidence that an Article 1 representative on behalf of the president withheld
Order,
from
Mr.
Article
Chairman.
3.
Mr. Chairman, I
that
would be granted the
information.
same leniency.
And with that, I
All
yield
right,
back
the
in
members back.
disgust of this witness.
Getting
Speaking
spicy.
with California, the gentlelady from California is now recognized.
Mr. Smith, thank you for being here today. Earlier, the chairman spent a lot of time talking about Cassidy Hutchinson, who we know is just one of many
Zoe
witnesses.
Lofgren.
This is Zoe
Also
Lofgren.
from the
She's
January
one of
6th
the
committee.
It's
impeachment
important to note
managers.
that there was
And one of the January
testimony
6th.
that she was told something by Mr. Ornato, not that she had personal knowledge. And of course, Mr. Ornato was of very questionable veracity. We had a testimony from a Metropolitan Police Department official about an argument, a big argument that the president was having about going to the Capitol. And in fact, the vehicle was delayed going back to the Capitol while that argument occurred. But having said that, I want to focus on something my colleagues across the aisle seem to want to ignore. The fact that your investigation into President Trump's attempt to overturn the 2020 election was built on testimony from members of the Republican Party. In fact, last week, the New York Times published grand jury transcripts from Georgia that show the same pattern in Trump's Georgia criminal case. Georgia's Republican Attorney General Chris Carr testified that he told, quote, and this is a quote, "We're just not seeing the things that you are seeing." And the late Georgia House Speaker David Ralston, also a Republican, testified that Trump's fake elector scheme was, quote, "the craziest thing I've heard." And then there's Senator Lindsey Graham, one of the president's closest allies. In his secret grand jury testimony, Senator Graham told the jurors, quote, "I have told him more times than we can count that he fell short," unquote. And then he said this, quote, "If you told him Martians came and stole votes, he'd be inclined to believe it." Martians, that's from Senator Graham speaking under oath. So here's my question. Mr. Smith, in your deposition with this committee, you testified, and here's a quote, "Our case was built on, frankly, Republicans who put their allegiance to the country before the party." Also, that the president's closest allies are telling him that his claims of election fraud are wrong. And so I'm just wondering, can you explain what you meant in your deposition, that it was Republicans who were putting their allegiance to their country ahead of their party?
Yes. There were witnesses who I felt would be very strong witnesses, including, for example, the Secretary of State in Georgia, who told Donald Trump the truth, told him things that he did not want to hear, and put him on notice that what he was saying was false. These were people who
The
knew
president notably
how the
asked
elections were
them
conducted
to
in the
find
states.
11,780
I
votes
believe
in
that
Georgia,
witnesses of that nature,
because that is
witnesses who are
how
willing to
how many
tell
votes he
the
lost the
truth,
state
even if it's
by,
going
and the
to
Secretary of State
pose
refused.
a cost on them in their lives. My experience as a prosecutor over 30 years is that witnesses like that are very credible, and that jurors tend to believe witnesses like that because they pay a cost for telling the truth.
In terms of the grand jury testimony that's now been released, the fact that Donald Trump, according to Senator Graham, would believe that Martians stole the election, what does that tell you about Trump's state of mind?
That statement is consistent with what we found in our investigation, in that our investigation revealed that Donald Trump was not looking for honest answers about whether there was fraud in the election. He was looking for ways to stay in power. And when people told him
That is an
things
extraordinary statement.
that conflicted with him staying in power, he rejected them, or he chose not even to contact people like that who would know if the election was done properly in the state. On the other hand, when individuals would say things that would allow him to stay in power, no matter how fantastical, he would latch onto those. That pattern, over time, we felt was powerful evidence that he, in fact, knew that the fraud claims he was making were false.
You know, who were some of the Republican witnesses who told you that who told President Trump that his claims of election fraud were false? Can you share that with us?
There were a range of witnesses. They ranged from people on his campaign team who had wanted him to win, were employed to help him win the election. They included state officials, state Republican officials who wanted him to win, voted for him, campaigned for him, asked him and his co-conspirators to provide evidence to support their claims, and invariably they never did. It included officials, advisors, people he worked with in the White House who he relied upon for important decisions and who he trusted in other contexts. We felt we had strong evidence from a variety of sources.
Time of the gentlelady has expired.
Ms. Chairman.
Jack Smith reminding everyone that Republicans were against
That's a good question. Isn't that
before they
grounds
began
to
trumpeting it.
answer?
I've given him 30 seconds extra, the gentlelady 30 seconds extra. If the gentleman can be concise and finish up here quickly, we will allow him to finish.
Yes, sir. And just conclude saying we felt that constituted powerful evidence of the knowing falsity of his statements in furtherance of the fraud.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to yield back, noting the presence of officers who were severely
Got
attacked,
nothing to yield back. You're a minute over. The gentleman from
protecting
Texas.
our lives on January 6th.
The gentleman from Texas, Mr. Gill, is recognized for 5 minutes.
All right.
Mr. Smith, in January of 2023, did you subpoena then Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy's toll records?
Drink every time the toll records come up.
Yes, sir, we did.
Yes, you did. And the subpoena covered the time period between November 2020 and January 2021. Is that right?
I'm sorry, sir. Could you say that again?
We're not going to delay like this. The subpoena covered the time period between November of 2020 and January 2021. How many days after Kevin McCarthy was sworn in as Speaker did you subpoena his records?
I don't recall, but those two things had nothing to do with
It was
one.
16 days after becoming the highest ranking Republican in the House of Representatives. You subpoenaed his toll records. Do you agree that that might reasonably be considered a violation of the speech or debate clause?
I do not, and I want to be clear that the toll
You were
records.
collecting months worth of phone data on the Republican Speaker of the House, the leader of the opposition, right after he got sworn in as Speaker, all around the time of a major vote. That sounds like a flagrant violation of the speech or debate clause to me, and I think most people agree with me. And Speaker McCarthy had no recourse,
I
did he?
would
Because you
note
issued
this
a
entire,
non-disclosure order ensuring that neither
strategy
he
that Republicans on this
nor
committee
any of the
seem to
American
have
people knew
about
these
the
subpoenas.
toll
Is that right?
records, again, just the metadata, not the actual
toll records,
communications,
the non-content
seems to me to
toll
say that
records,
the members,
we did
they
secure
believe are above
non-disclosure
reproach.
orders for
That
the
even if
subpoenas.
there's
You did.
criminality
Let
or
me ask you,
anything
Mr.
involved,
Smith, at the time
that
you secured
that
those
should be
non-disclosure orders, was
protected, and they're
Speaker
looking for an
McCarthy a flight risk?
exception for the members of Congress because of the rank that they have,
Non-disclosure
which I
order
don't think
was
plays
based
well
on
with regular
subject
Americans.
Was Speaker McCarthy a flight risk?
Just a note about
was
the
not. Then why
questioner,
did
this
your
is Brandon
non-disclosure
Gill.
order
He is
refer
the
to it as a
youngest
flight risk?
Republican in Congress. He's
here, the
just
court finds
31
reasonable
years old, so
grounds to
again,
believe that
another
such
rising
disclosure
star.
will result
And he's
in
one
flight
with an
prosecution.
interesting conservative provenance. His father-in-law is the conservative provocateur, Dinesh D'Souza. So I think we're seeing how they're organizing their list of witness, questioners here.
The Speaker of the House is a
Finish
flight
answering the
risk?
question?
No, this is not your time. This is my time. You think the Speaker of the House is a flight risk? You think he's going to hop on a plane and leave the country?
No, what I was trying to explain is with respect to a non-disclosure order, the risks
Look at Jack
aren't
Smith's lawyers
necessarily
behind him.
associated with the subscriber to the phone.
Aghast.
They're the risks to the
Okay.
investigation.
I think that you were using,
We are
this is
all
clearly in
Texas lawyers.
reference to Speaker McCarthy, and you were using clearly false information to secure a non-disclosure order to hide from Speaker McCarthy and from the American people the fact that you were spying on his toll records. But I've got more, so let's move on. In May of 2023, you also issued subpoenas for toll records of 9 U.S. senators and an additional representative. Is that right?
In May of 23, we did issue.
You did, and there were non-disclosure orders in conjunction with those subpoenas as well, right?
That's correct, consistent with department policy and
Right.
the law.
So again, nobody would know what you were doing. The senators would, and the representatives would, and the American people wouldn't know what you were doing. Is that right?
The toll records that we secured and the non-disclosure orders were consistent with policy and consistent.
And you knew
with
whenever you were
strategy.
doing that there was a risk you were violating the speech or debate clause. Is that right?
The toll record subpoenas that we secured were with the concurrence of the public integrity.
Your own analysis says that you knew there was a risk you were violating the speech or debate clause. I have it right here. This is an email from John Keller at Public Integrity Section to your team. As you are aware, quote, as you are aware, there is some litigation risk regarding whether compelled disclosure of toll records of a member's legislative calls violates the speech or debate clause in the DC Circuit. That's from your own analysis right there. So you did know, didn't you?
Sir, with respect to the item you just put up on the screen, the last sentence states.
Oh, we're going to get to the last sentence.
Okay.
We're going to get to the last sentence. And you cite case law in here, quote, the bar on compelled disclosure is absolute. Is that right? Or do you think that you didn't have to abide by that precedent?
To be clear, this statement is not from my office. This is the statement.
This
of
is
Public
this is
Integrity
your
Section.
justification for those subpoenas and NDOs that you ordered. This was part of your analysis. It's a cursory analysis. I think it's worth noting. But let's get to that last sentence then. Quote, given my understanding of the low likelihood that any of the members listed below would be charged, the litigation risk should be minimal here. In other words, you're using a novel legal theory, which you knew was novel, has never been tested by any court. You're not charging any of these members. Nobody's going to know it because you issued NDOs.
It's meant to keep the
Nobody's
executive
gonna
branch
sue
from
about it.
prying into
So
legislative
this, so
acts.
who
That's why
cares? We're gonna
it
do it anyway.
specifically was
You
there.
walked all
So,
over the Constitution throughout
Obviously,
this
the Department of
entire
Justice is a
process.
part of the
Entire
executive
members of
branch.
Congress
And so one could
is
argue,
absolutely
anytime the Department of Justice touches a member's communications, you could be in the danger zone, which is why the Public Integrity Unit weighed in on this very thing. To be clear, we weren't talking about nothing that was related to legislation in terms of the metadata.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Smith, it's great that you've been allowed to come here.
Oh,
and
Melissa, we
testify
can't hear
to
you.
the American
Say it
public.
again
Is
so
there
we can hear
anything
you.
you'd like
Unmute.
briefly to discuss that
All
Mr.
right.
Gill brought up?
I'll also say
reasons
that
why
LaMonica
you were making those
McIver,
toll
the New Jersey
recommendations.
representative who's been indicted by the Trump DOJ for her actions in Newark, has also cited the speech and debate clause as a defense. And again, to no avail, she continues to be under federal prosecution. One more thing about Representative Gill, he is one of the individuals who has introduced articles of impeachment against Judge Jeb Boasberg, who blocked the administration's use of the Alien Enemies Act to expel migrants from this country. And that's not all he's done in Congress. He has also submitted a bill to put Donald Trump's face on the $100 bill once Trump's second term ends.
Holding it down for the millennials.
But I was aware during the course of our investigation of targeting of witnesses during the course of the conspiracy itself. There were election workers who had their lives turned upside down and received vile death threats because they were targeted by Donald Trump and his co-conspirators. I had a duty to protect witnesses in this investigation. That risk, that threat to witnesses was only confirmed when we went forward in this case and Donald Trump suggested that one witness should be put to death and then also issued a statement to the effect of, if you come after me, I'm coming after you. In my mind, I can't think of a more direct threat to witnesses and individuals involved in that proceeding. Given that sort of threats, it was, in my view, completely appropriate to protect the integrity of the investigation, to protect against destruction of evidence, and to protect the witnesses in our case.
And just to make clear, you did not see any of the discussion. There was not any, it was just the content that they made a call to the president and vice versa, but nothing about any content whatsoever.
That's correct. A toll record subpoena gives you who a call is from, who it is to, and the length of that call. It does not tell you the content of what people are speaking about.
Finally,
You felt that
finally
you
get
had a case
information
that
about
was
what the toll record does.
one that you would win beyond a reasonable doubt, no moral certainty. Is there anything in your facts that you've had that you would have used at trial that you believe has not been presented to the public in the past or have been misrepresented to the public?
Is there anything,
Essential facts that you had that you felt would have resulted in a conviction of the president on the charges that he was indicted upon?
I think my report, the report of our case, the final report, summarizes the evidence, I think, in a way that is, gives a fair reading of the strength of the case.
And you have no question but have been successful before jury.
My review of the case, I came to the conclusion we had proof beyond a reasonable doubt. We were ready, willing, and able to go to trial in the case. Of course, as I said in my opening statement, prosecutors can't control outcomes, but I felt confident in pursuing the case to trial.
Did Merrick Garland ever pressure you to bring an indictment or to do anything in your investigation?
No.
Did anybody else in the administration, President Biden, Vice President Harris, et cetera?
I was given the independence to conduct my investigation, and I came to the decision to bring charges in this case without undue influence from anybody in the department.
And you dropped the case. Why did you drop the case?
The cases
This is an
against
important question.
Donald Trump were dismissed pursuant to department policy.
Department policy, the Office of Legal Counsel said if somebody's president, you can't bring a charge against them or they can't be held liable. Is that correct?
That's correct. There had not been
How do it equivalate?
this nature ever where someone was elected president with charges pending. So that was slightly different. So we consulted with with the Office of Legal Counsel, and they determined pursuant to policy that the cases needed to be dismissed.
And you weren't